Hey guys, my name is Akoris and this is going to be my first EOP guide video. In this video, I'm going to cover up the exploration part for the EOP acceptance and the CARINA challenges, the volume 3 CARINA challenges. So I'm not going to focus on the grief incarnation part. So I'm just going to show you guys like my thought process, what I feel would be the most ideal team for each path, for each objective. So without any further ado, we can just start up with the guide, and I'm just gonna explain through my thought process and what team would be ideal and how you should fight that particular fight. So the first objective is the spectacular spiders, so which is the Spider-Verse hero champions. So initially, I feel bringing in Stark and Spider-Man, Still Suit Spider-Man, and Cosmic Ghost Rider is the right choice. And going towards the left side, which is the Hercules path, and you can take Hercules with either CGR or Stealth Suit Spider-Man, and next up would be Havoc, which I feel you can take it with Stark and Spider-Man. You just have to build up those 10 poise charges and use the heavy attack, and probably just be careful like whenever the plasmas are building on you, just make sure to do a parry so that you have a armor up buff on you so that you don't take any detonation damage. So the next fight would be Warlock, which I feel CGR is the right choice for that one. And Nick Fury can be taken by either of these three, depending on how much health do you have on these champions. Then at the portal, you need to swipe, you need to swap, you need to swap CGR with Miles Morales, just because the next two fights, which is Modok and Blade, would be fairly easy with Miles as compared to other Spider Hero champion. Like you could swap in Spider Gwen as well if you have her ranked up, and then would be Terrax, where you ideally don't have a correct counter, but using your team for that fight would be, I guess, the most ideal choice again, because in that way, once you are triple KO'd, you can just use a team revive and just power through this fight. Then the last fight on the path is Dragon Man, which is can be a fairly easy fight with Stealth Suit Spider-Man, just because of the web form pre-fight where you can put up a slow and you can just basically intercept throughout the fight. And you need a very good AI for this one, for a solo attempt, because sometimes Dragon Man is stingy with his specials, and that's what I feel is the way to go for this particular objective. And this boss in the end can be taken out by anyone, or like you can just use your team throughout and just take him down. Then coming up, the second objective, which is the dimensional being objective. So here my thought process was to use CGR, Hood and Hercules initially, and go towards the right hand side, because the first four fights on the right hand side can be taken down by Hercules. You just have to power through with Hercules, just to try to do it in the minimum number of revives as you can. And then there's another option where you can take Dormammu with Hood and just try to bring him down to probably 50% or something. You could basically solo this fight, but I feel this is bugged right now because I tried it, and whenever I used to knock him down, I was not transferring the degen on him. Maybe it's a bug, or maybe it's something in relation to Hood and Dormammu, especially. I'm not sure about that. So, and also alternatively, you can just use CGR for Bishop and for this Overseer. And after these 4 fights at the portal, you can swap Hercules with Gallon. Then you have two other fights, which is Craven and Scorpion, which can be taken out by CGR itself. Then comes Icarus, which I feel is a hood fight, where you just have to do mediums and bait out special ones and just get to a special 2 so you don't give him any more energized buffs for a while. Then comes Penny Barker, which is a Gallon fight, and I think at the end you could put the Gallon pre-fight for on the boss for CGR, and you have to take the boss with CGR. I think that's the most ideal choice. So this way you can do the second objective, which is the dimensional beings one. I would not suggest going on to the left side because you have a blade at the end after the portal where uh like he counters dimensional being champions, so that might not be the ideal choice just to you know fight against blade. So I would not recommend you going on to the left side with this objective. Coming up to the third objective, which is the band of mutants, which is brotherhood of mutants. So here I feel you have two choices to make. You can take either of the two sides, and if you plan on going towards the right hand side, which is the Dormammu side, bring Hercules, Toad, and Red Max, and with that you can solo or like take down the first 4 fights with Hercules again, and then at the portal you can just swap Hercules with Juggernaut. And then against Craven you have two options which you can use, which are Toad and Juggernaut. Juggernaut would be fairly better because whenever you nullify his buff, he gains a bar of power. So pushing him to 2 bars of power is more easier, and getting your 2 bars of power would be, I guess, ideal. And then comes Scorpion, which is a fairly easy red max fight. Then would be Icarus, where you can just use Toad or Juggernaut like based up to your choice. It's up to your choices. Uh, then comes Penny Parker, which I feel you can take it down with Red Magneto. Then for the boss, you can just use all your team. Like if you decide to go through the left side, which is the top path, which is the Hercules path. So I feel if you bring Odin, Scarlet Witch, and Toad, initially you can take Warlock and Hercules with Scarlet Witch, and you could also put the all three Odin pre-fights for like on Scarlet Witch if you really want it. And you can take Nick Fury with Toad, and you can also take Havoc with Odin. And after these 4 fights, you can just swap out Odin with Red Max, and with Red Max you have two metals. After the portal you have two metals, so you could use Red Max for those two metal champions, which are Modok and Dragon Man. Then comes up and also you can use Scarlet Witch then on Blade, Terrax, and Dragon Man if you really want to use her on those 3 fights. And I would suggest using Toad for Blade because he also regens out below 70% health, so reducing that amount of regen would help you out a little bit. And especially on Terrax, he has a node where if you put debuffs on him, you have less damage through his rock shield and also from the special delivery node. So I feel Toad would be a better counter for that Terrax just because of that, because of his ability to put debuffs. And next up is the boss, where you could basically just use anybody and revive up anyone. So coming on to the fourth one, which is the machine learning, which is the robots challenge, and I feel it's one of the hardest ones. And here again, you can use two parts, and the most important thing is you need to have Dragon Man, because if you don't have Dragon Man, you're gonna be road blocked because of Terax on one side and Icarus on one side. So I would highly suggest, if you have a Dragon Man, do this objective. If you don't have a Dragon Man, wait for wait for like the time until you get Dragon Man because it's good, or else it's gonna be very hard on you. So if you decide on going to the right side, which is Tomamo, again initially bring Omega Sentinel, Nimrod, and Hercules. Hercules can take all the four fights, but if you really want to save some revives or potions, you could basically use Hercules for Dormammu, Bishop, and Overseer, and you could use either Nimrod or Omega Sentinel for Crossbones. Then at the portal, swap out Hercules with Dormammu. Oh, sorry, with Dragon Man, and Dragon Man can take Craven and Icarus, whereas Omega Sentinel can take this Scorpion, and you'll have Nimrod for Penny Parker, or you could basically also use Dragon Man or Omega Sentinel for Penny Parker. So this way you could do the right side, and then for the boss, I would suggest using Nimrod more because of his higher damage and also a bit of higher health. And if you decide to go on the left side, I would suggest an initial team of Hercules, Nebula, and Warlock. So you could take Hercules, Havoc, and Nick Fury with Hercules, and you could go with Warlock, go against Warlock with Warlock, and this way you are done with your first four fights, and at the portal you can swap out Hercules again with Dragon Man. So in the second part of that path, you basically could use Nebula against that Modok. You can just hold your block and try to parry, so you put up the shock, and this way he won't auto block you. So this way you can stay a bit aggressive, and you could use Nebula for this Dragon Man because after 5 amp charges, like, she shuts him down. So basically you just have to bait out a special one, remove the power gain, and this way you won't gain that unstoppable. So it's gonna be a fairly difficult fight because uh, you won't be able to parry, because whenever you parry him, he gets an armor break. So you just have to do this fight. Basically it's gonna be an intercepting fight. So that's the plan for this side. If you decide to go on the left hand side with Nebula, then with Dragon Man you could also take Modok. You basically just have to parry and reparry, and then use a heavy attack, put the incinerate, then you can just go through and, like, intercept and do the same thing, repeat the same thing again. And I feel Dragon Man against that Terax would be a better option. Like, it's the only option, honestly. So with the armor breaks on you, you're gonna put the degen and you just have to intercept and probably get to a special 2, put on the debuffs, and reduce the damage from the special delivery and also from his rock field. So this might be the way to go. Then against Blade you could use basically any of the 3, and you could also use Warlock for this Modok because of his higher crit rating and also his ability to put a shock on his special 1. So you basically just have to get to a special 1, and you actually just have to time it out in a way where you already have the infection on him, and the tranquility node is just about to expire. The timer is just about to expire, so that initially you put one shock, and once the tranquility is resetted, you put the second shock. So this way you could basically just avoid the auto block at like throughout the fight. But the timing always has to be perfect just in order to do that. And for the boss, you can just use any champion you want. Coming up to the fifth objective, which is the alternate Avengers, which is a Force and Alpha flight. Again, you have options of taking both sides according to me. And if you go towards the right hand side again, Hercules for sure. Then you could bring in Scarlet Witch and She-Hulk. So you could take the first 4 fights with Hercules, or there's an option you can take that Dormammu with She-Hulk. Then after these 4 fights at the swapping at the portal, you can swap Hercules with Captain Marvel movie. I feel she would be a better choice at like just to pick out of those these categories, like these hashtags. So the next plan would be to use Scarlet Witch for Craven and Icarus. Then you could also use She-Hulk for that Icarus, and She-Hulk against that Scorpion would be the most ideal choice out of all three of them because of the slow she puts on a heavy, so that he does like he even if he gets the Scorpion sense, so he won't evade, and she's also poison immune. So that's the way to go against that Scorpion. Then on that Penny Parker, you could either use Captain Marvel movie, or you could basically just use your whole team on that fight. It's gonna be a very difficult fight, but you don't have any other option, I guess. Or that's what I feel like. You don't like we don't have any other option. And you could also use Captain Marvel movie on that Craven or on that Icarus just to build up your binary charges before you fight that Penny Parker. So yeah, and for the boss, just use everybody. Like it's like you don't have an option. So that if you decide to go on the left hand side, I would suggest Odin, Scarlet Witch, and Captain Marvel movie again. So with Scarlet Witch, you can take out this Hercules and Warlock, and you could also put all three Odin pre-fights on Scarlet Witch on the Hercules fight. So this way, like even if she gets hit, like it's not gonna be that damaging. So next up, you could use Odin for that Havoc because of the armor up buff, and also I feel like he could finish that fight faster. Then on that CMM, you could use. Say it's either it's up to you, like just to put all three Odin pre-fights on CMM or on Scarlet Witch. I would highly suggest that you put it on CMM because in the second part of this path there is a Terrax. So for that Terrax, I feel CMM would be a better choice because she puts armor breaks, and also because of that aptitude, her furies are gonna last a little bit longer. So that's what I feel is gonna be a better use of that all three Odin prefix. So we could so you could just use CMM with the Odin prefix against that Nick Fury. Then at the portal you can swap out Odin with She-Hulk. She-Hulk can take that Modok and Dragon Man. Then you're left with Blade and Terrax. So both these fights can be taken by either Captain Marvel movie or Scarlet Witch, and then the boss is for everyone. Then coming on to the last of the objectives, which is the Helmut here, which is the Thunderbolts objective. So this one I feel is the worst one because the champions which are in that pool are not that good or need a synergy to be good. So If you decide on going towards the right hand side, the Dormammu side, you could initially bring in Hercules, Ghost, and Crossbones, and you could take all four fights with Hercules, the first four fights, or you could take Dormammu and Overseer with Hercules, and take Bishop and Crossbones with Ghost. But I would suggest just use Hercules and save health on Ghost, or like your revives on Ghost. That's what I feel would be ideal. Then at the portal you can just swap out Hercules with Juggernaut. So Juggernaut would be ideal for that Craven, just because of his nullifying ability. So whenever he nullifies, so Craven is gonna get a bar of power, so it's easier to push him to 2 bars of power and bait out a special 2. So that's what I feel would be the most ideal choice. Then he can be used against that Icarus also, but I would not suggest using Juggernaut on Icarus, and I would highly suggest using Ghost on that Icarus because of the amount of passive furies you can get based on that incinerates he puts on his special 1. So whenever you add a special 2, just to get hit with the special 1 and knock him down, and just use your special 2 with the higher amount of furies and just nuke him down. Then against that Scorpion, I feel Ghost would be a better option than Crossbones, because Scorpion is a villain and Crossbones is not, like, he's decent, but he's not that good against villain champions. He's more better on the against the hero champions. So I would suggest Ghost for that Scorpion, but you could also use Crossbones for that Scorpion. And then the whole team for that Penny Parker is what I suggest, because it's gonna be a fairly difficult fight because of the annoying shield she has, and because of close encounters, like you have to keep on hitting her and try to regen back some health, and if you stay away you're gonna regen for like 3% of your health. So it's a fairly difficult fight because these three are not the ideal counters for that fight. So probably you might have to use your whole team on that fight. So that's the plan for if you take the right hand side, and then the boss can be taken out by any of the three. I would say Juggernaut, just because I guess he is immune to reverse controls because of his helmet. But if you talk about damage, I guess Ghost is the way to go. So that. And if you decide to go on the left hand side, this is a team which I would not suggest, but probably it's the team I will be using. And just because I'm not that, like, I am good at Ghost, but I just have a 5 star, so I don't know if I should use her. Whereas I have a 6 star rank for Man Thing, so that's only the reason why I'm gonna take the left hand side. And if you decide to take the left hand side, it's the Hercules path. So I feel you can take Hercules with either Juggernaut or Man Thing, and same goes with the Warlock. You can use either Man Thing or Juggernaut, and I would personally use either Odin against that Havoc, or I would go with Man Thing against that Havoc with the Odin pre-fights. Then comes up Nick Fury, where I'm basically gonna, like, you can use all three of your champions on that fight. And after these four fights, you have the swapping option. So you can swap out. You have to swap out Odin for sure. So ideally, you should swap him out with the Crossbones. And with Crossbones, you could take Modok and Blade. Dragon Man is an option which you can use with Crossbones. It's I guess not gonna work out that well, but beggars can't be the choosers, so you have to do it. So then comes our blade and Terax, which I feel Man Thing would be a better option because of his armor break and his poisons, which kind of reduce the healing a little bit, and also they are debuffs. So putting them on Terax means you're gonna take less of the rock field and the degen damage from the special delivery in case you don't use a special after 15 hits. So that and also Juggernaut can be a good option for that Dragon Man just because of the nullify ability. The RNG has to be on point, and I feel he might be able to, like, if not nuke, but kind of like help on that fight. Then at the end, you could basically just throw out your team and probably just take the Thanos boss down. And that's just my opinion on like the EOP. And I know there might be a better option for a particular path or a particular challenge, but this is what I feel is the right choice according to me, according to my knowledge. So uh, if you're not in agreement, I'm sorry about that. And I hope you guys solo it up and get your first rank 5. And if you really like the video, please make sure to give a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't yet. And let me know in the comments if I missed on some other important information or not. And yeah, that's it from my end, and I hope this helps. So thank you.